Howdy guys, welcome back. Today we're going to go over a controversial topic that I think a lot of people may have misunderstandings about. This is going to be in the book of Mark, and to understand this we're going to have to go read this section, and then we're going to have to read it in context of the things that have happened before this in earlier chapters, and then what's going to come right after this. The topic we're going to be discussing is the blind man that Jesus heals, that does not heal instantaneously like his other healings do. This is the only instance where Jesus heals a man, but he doesn't heal him right away. And so let's get into it and see what the scriptures say. In Mark chapter 8 verse 22, and he cometh to Bethsaida, and they bring a blind man unto him, and besought him to touch him. And he took the blind man by the hand, and led him out of the town. And when he had spit on his eyes, and put his hands upon him, he asked him if he saw. And he looked up, and said, I see men as trees walking. After that, he put his hands again upon his eyes, and made him look, and he was restored, and saw every man clearly. And he sent him away to his house, saying, neither go into town, nor tell it to any end of the town. So here we have a blind man who Jesus takes out of town, takes away from everybody, just him and his disciples and the blind man. And he doesn't heal him right away. He touches his eyes. He spits and he touches his eyes, right? And he sees men that look like as if they were trees, so everything is blurry. But here's the thing: I want you to think of Jesus doing this as a parable, a teaching moment, the opening the eyes. And I want you to think about those who are with him. So, what is the importance of Jesus doing this? Did Jesus fail to heal him on the first attempt, or is it purposeful? Let's go back to Mark 6:35 through 44. Mark 6:35 through 44. Now this is Jesus when he's going to feed the 5,000. Now this is going to be important. Remember, we're tying this all in. We got to see the whole context of the narrative of what's happening and when it comes to this moment of this blind man. And when the day was now far spent, his disciples came unto him and said, this is a desert place, and now the time is far past. Send them away. So they had a crowd with them. Send them away, that they may go into the country round about, and into the villages, and buy themselves bread, for they had nothing to eat. And he answered and said unto them, give ye them to eat. And they said unto him, shall we go and buy 200 pennyworth of bread, and give to them to eat? That's an interesting, we could probably make a whole video on that, to where Jesus says to give them something to eat, and they're talking about going and trying to buy food for them. He saith unto them, how many loaves have ye? And go and see. And when they knew, they said, 5 and 2 fishes. And he commanded them to make all sit down by companies upon the green grass. And they sat down in ranks by hundreds and by 50s. And when he had taken the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, he looked up to heaven, and blessed, and brake the loaves, and gave them to his disciples to set before them. And the 2 fishes divided he among them all. And they did all eat, and were filled. They took up 12 baskets full of the fragments and of the fishes. And they that did eat of the loaves were about 5,000 men. So Jesus feeds 5,000 people. He feeds them in a deserted place. And they have 12 baskets left for the disciples. Now, what is the significance of this story? What is this? Why is this important? Why does this matter to the thing we're going to next? Or what we covered with the blind man? Well, we need to understand the context of this story as well. Why is this story so important? Let's go to Exodus 16:10. Okay. Exodus 16:10. And it came to pass, as Aaron spake unto the whole congregation of the children of Israel, that they looked toward the wilderness, and behold, the glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. And the Lord spake to Moses, saying, I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel. Speak unto them, saying, At even, and in the evening, ye shall eat flesh, and in the morning ye shall be filled with bread, and ye shall know that I am the Lord your God. And it came to pass that at the evening quails came up and covered the camp, and in the morning dew lay round about the host. And when the dew that lay was gone up, and behold, upon the face of the wilderness, in other words, a deserted place, there lay a small round thing as small as hoarfrost on the ground. And when the children of Israel saw it, they said to one another, It is manna, for they wist not what it was. And Moses said unto them, This is the bread which the Lord hath given you to eat. So, in the wilderness, Moses is in the wilderness with the children of Israel. God brings forth bread, manna, miraculously for them to eat. Jesus, with his disciples in a deserted place, brings forth bread and the fishes, divides the bread and the fishes for 5,000 to eat. In other words, God feeds thousands in the wilderness. Jesus feeds thousands in the wilderness. Now let's go to Mark 6:50. Now this is right whenever Jesus is walking upon the water. Now, for they saw him as he was walking on the water, and were troubled. And immediately he talked with them, and saith unto them, Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. The literal Greek rendering of this is no fear, or fear not, I am. The Greek is literally, I am, fear not. It's interesting, isn't it? Considering we just learned what Jesus was doing, feeding the 5,000. And who else did that? God himself. Now you see Jesus walking upon the water that no mere creature can do, and saying, Fear not, I am. And he went up unto them and into the ship, and the wind ceased. And they were sore amazed in themselves beyond measure, and wondered. For they considered not the miracle of the loaves, for their heart was hardened. What does this mean? They considered not the miracle of the loaves. They didn't get it. They didn't see the significance of this miracle, what it really meant. What does Jesus feeding these people with bread in the wilderness, what was the real meaning behind this? The meaning was, this was God feeding the people of Israel again. And then they see him walking on the water, and they're amazed and astonished, but they still don't get it because they didn't get that part of the story. They didn't get to understand that thing that Jesus had just done, that miracle. And if you don't understand the true nature of what's going on, that Jesus is showing himself to be God in the flesh, that they don't get it. Now let's go back to Mark 8:22. Now remember, Jesus had just brought the blind man out of the city, him and his disciples, and he, spits on his eyes and touches him, and he can't see things clearly. But the picture is coming more into focus. Okay? He's not blind anymore, but things are still hazy. You see, now I want you to think about the parable I was mentioning. Think about the disciples. They had just witnessed Jesus feed 5,000 people with a miracle. They just watched their Lord walk upon the water and are amazed. Suddenly, this image of what Jesus truly is slowly, finally filtering into them of what he really is. They're starting to get the picture. And Jesus touches his eyes, and the man can see clearly. It is a parable for the disciples. That's why Jesus did it this way. So he is opening their eyes as well as this blind man. Now let's go to the very next part. What happens right after this? He just heals the blind man. What happened? Jesus went out and his disciples into the towns of Caesarea and Philippi. And by the way, he asked his disciples, saying, Whom do men say that I am? This is key. And they answered, John the Baptist, but some say Elias, and others one of the prophets. And he saith unto them, But whom do ye say that I am? And Peter answered, and saith unto him, Thou art the Christ. The moment has happened. They understand Jesus is the divine Son of God. He is the Messiah. And if you read the more detailed version in the rest of the Gospel, Jesus says, you are the Son of God. And Jesus says, this was given to you by my Father. They finally see who Jesus is. And just like the blind man, at first things are hazy. They're no longer blind, but it's hazy. They're trying to figure out, who is Jesus really? And then finally, in this incredible moment, Jesus asks, who am I? After all they witnessed, he is the Christ, the Son of the living God. So that is why Jesus healed this blind man in this fashion, so that we could be able to understand and get into the mindset of what the disciples themselves were going through, and how he was opening their eyes to who he truly was. Guys, I hope this was edifying. I thank you all so much for listening, and I'll try to make another video soon, and I hope y'all have a great evening. God bless.